Hi, welcome to the Monday evening update on Invest 92L. We had Hurricane Hannah, a couple days ago make landfall and is now inland here. You can see it spinning over Mexico. This is over now, and unfortunately, flash flooding is likely still ongoing in the southern region of Texas here near Brownsville and McAllen. Very bad reports out of the McAllen area in particular due to flash flooding here. Prayers go out to those people. Please do be safe, and I hope a speedy recovery for you. But we are not talking about that today. We are talking about this large wave here that we see out in the central Atlantic. This is a very gigantic wave, really. This is not something you see too often out in the Atlantic. Typically, you see a more medium-sized wave or a smaller wave, similar to what we saw with the remnants of Gonzalo here. That is no longer the case, as Gonzalo has weakened substantially. If you go to the get a little closer shot of this, you can see that the circulation is very broad. You can see there's two vorticity maximums just before sunset. You can see the southwestern side and the northeastern side are concentrated areas of vorticity, which has in turn stretched out the circulation to make it look more like a oval rather than a circle. You would typically want to see a circle for the storm to kind of gradually strengthen here and tighten up, but that is not the case. And so what we are going to be watching in the short term is to see which of these two vorticity maximums win out. And one thing to watch for is heightened areas of convection. If you can see on the southwestern little lobe here, you can see a generally better area of organization and better area of convection here that may be trying to wrap up here rather gradually. Again, this is probably going to take about 2 days before this reaches the islands. This is moving pretty fast here to the west-northwest. Let me do a little better of an arrow. And it will be eventually reaching the Leeward Islands, which you can see here just off your screen as this continues on to the west-northwest. One of the things to be watching for if you are in the Leeward Islands is how fast the storm develops. Again, models have been a little less aggressive with this over the past couple of days. We've seen the forecast for the Leeward Islands go from, having a hurricane in the Leeward Islands to, barely a tropical wave on some of the models. And we're going to get into that in a second. Here is the GFS model for the, this is the most recent forecast for the GFS. You can see, I'm going to scoot this back a little bit to about 30 hours out. This is Tuesday evening here. You can see that the storm remains very elongated due to what is happening right now. If you go back to the true color loop of the system, there's a stronger southwestern quadrant than previously anticipated by the GFS, and so that in turn has made the system a little more elongated, which has prevented organization here in the short term, according to the GFS. Now, there's still a possibility on the table that this storm, this part of the storm does completely organize. That is still on the table. There's plenty of options here that may happen within the next 36 hours, which is why we need to be watching this very closely, because there are several solutions that may happen here. You may have the northeastern side organize and develop and move to the north of the islands, or you could have the southwestern side develop here and move into the islands, and you could have, both try to develop around the same time, and you could have a prevention of either of the two becoming particularly strong, and thus what happens in the GFS here, if you go back to the model forecast, is this remains rather elongated all the way up until it reaches the islands and doesn't really become too particularly well organized even while it is passing through. You can see there's a low here, but it's not very well organized. You still have a wave axis that is tilted to the northeast and southwest, but it is organized. This still classifies as a tropical cyclone, but it is not particularly well defined and not very strong in here. And so if it does indeed prevent itself from really organizing due to its large size and the many vorticity maximums that it has, it will be running into various problems. There's an upper level trough here. I'm going to pull up the potential vorticity here, that as the system is advancing across the Eastern Caribbean and entering the Central Caribbean, you have the storm's outflow is expanding out of the circulation as the convection continues to fire, which will in turn ventilate itself and push at the upper trough that you can see here highlighted in yellow. Now, the past couple of days, or past couple of model forecasts, the storm was stronger in here, and you can see there's variations of this forecast where the storm is able to produce enough upper level outflow to really put a dent in this trough, and so you can see that it is able to successfully push away this trough here that is in the upper levels. But that does not happen if the storm is weaker. You can see if you look at the forecast here, when the storm is less defined, you can see that the trough is able to maintain its shape here and prevent the storm from really strengthening much further and actually imparting some shear out of the southwest, which in turn, due to the mid-level environment that we're seeing here in the Caribbean, would actually severely damage the circulation. You have a moisture envelope here located off to the northeast of the circulation that does not remain, that does not actually help wrap into the circulation due to the broadness of this, and it is drawing from many areas. It's drawing from here, here, and here. It favors the southern side, but it will be drawing moisture from all areas, and you can see that predominantly this area that is being pumped into the storm due to the shear out of the southwest prevents the storm from really organizing too much. And so the GFS does have something here, and actually it keeps it rather weak and stagnant here, and kind of stretches this thing out and prevents it from really intensifying. Now, the European model has something a little different here. You can see once it gets into the islands, it still is, I don't know why that happened, it still is elongated here, but it is a little more organized and it's a little further to the south, and that is because neither vorticity maximum really strengthens too much, and this is significantly faster than the past few Euro runs, which you have all the way out here. This is a couple days ago. The forecast for 92L had it way to the east of the islands here still, as it was approaching, and now as the storm has become a little less organized than expected in the short term, you can see that the European model has this actually racing through the islands and eventually has this kind of running into Hispaniola and not really strengthening too much. You still have the wave axis in here, and this is likely due to the fact that one, proximity to land. These mountains in Hispaniola are particularly unfavorable for continued cyclone development. And two, if you look at the vorticity or the 500 millibar height here, you can see that the wave axis in the mid-levels here is largely to the east of the wave axis that is currently centered over Hispaniola, which means that the shear is being imparted rather successfully onto the system, preventing it from really intensifying too much. And as a result, the storm remains very broad all the way along its trek through the Western Caribbean. Now, a couple things could change. Models always do change. This has been very inconsistent. The forecasting has been extremely inconsistent. If the storm is able to organize faster than expected, I think I already explained this, and especially with how it is looking right now in the southwestern quadrant, we could be dealing with a different model forecast, which is why you have to kind of simultaneously watch this while also watching the model forecasts here and watching their trends as they continue on here. But if the storm continues to organize in the southwestern quadrant, then it may be able to come into the islands here, and if I zoom out a little bit here, you can see if it is able to organize in the southwestern part of the system, and kind of have, shrug this off a little bit, you can have the storm actually track a little closer to the islands here and track further as it continues off to the northwest or west-northwest. This will, if it does in fact develop on the southwestern side, it will likely be very close here to the Greater Antilles and the Lesser Antilles, especially if you are in the northern Lesser Antilles, all the way from St. Lucia up to the north. And so as the system continues on to the west-northwest, you can kind of expect general impacts here. Obviously, heavy rain is going to be the main issue as this approaches, but depending on how strong this gets, if it is a tropical storm while it's here, or if it is just, a tropical wave, regardless, you'll be dealing with gusty winds and maybe obviously heavy rain. As far as impacts go further on, a lot of that needs to be fleshed out due to the inconsistencies in the short-term forecast. The European model and the GFS model are very divided on this and have continued to be very divided as the storm has approached the Lesser Antilles. But regardless, the system will be very large and will take a pretty good amount of time to organize here regardless of any solution. So we'll just have to keep watching this as it continues off to the west-northwest. As always, thank you to the Tropical Tidbits website for providing this fantastic imagery. Really can't do it without you. And always refer to the National Hurricane Center for the latest regarding 92L. That's all I got for now. Thanks for watching.